You obviously put a lot of thought into your design aesthetic.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that. For example, this is a very nice suit and tie and hat, and you know, two worlds collide here in a way. I was told, be sure you dress down a little bit because, you know, after all, it's music. But let's talk about your design aesthetic.
Well, someone told me, I worked with this artist, this old soul artist named Andre Williams. We did a show with him or something in Detroit, and he produced early records like Shake Your Tail Feather and J.O. Bait and things like that for Fortune Records in Detroit, and we did a show with him in the late 90s, and he said something like, you don't go on stage in the clothes you rolled up to the club in. And that was just like a funny thing to hear and, you know, old showbiz kind of line. But he's right, you know. I think, especially now at this day and age, I mean, if you look at a photo of what people were like 100 years ago, a downtown photo of New York City, everybody's wearing a hat, everybody's wearing a dress or a suit, and somehow we kind of let that all go, and now we can kind of go to church in our pajamas, you know. And I think it's, I don't know, I try to stay away from that on that level. But also, you know, when you go on stage in just the jeans and a t-shirt, you're making a choice. You're choosing to sort of be what I think a lot of the punk rockers and rock and rollers thought was real, you know. But to me, the Ramones, a punk band, they all wore leather jackets and kids. It was a uniform they wore. The Sex Pistols wore ripped up clothes with safety pins, and that was their uniform. And Elvis wore his flipped collar and his pompadour, and that was his uniform. Those were not, and everyone considered all those people reality, like the dirty side of art and music, and they were giving us reality, but they were really completely dressed to impress and dressed to exemplify that. And coming from the design aspect of the interest of mine through furniture, it's also form follows function, you know. What are you trying to communicate? But the way I always thought about doing that was do the complete opposite. When I was in the White Stripes, we were so centered around the blues and the truth of that, that the best thing for us to do was dress everything completely in red, white, and black and completely present ourselves in this candy-colored fashion, because we thought, if you can't get past that, you'll never get with us on this other level. We'll never share this thing together, this musical thing together. Only if you can get past the presentation of that do you think it's real. Because it's definitely not makes it more real to go on stage in jeans and a t-shirt and pretend that you're an everyday man or everyday working man or something like that. Because Robert Johnson didn't do that. Robert Johnson wore a suit and a hat, you know, and he was dressed to impress people and make them think of something differently. And now it's so easy to make people think differently. I mean, everybody wears what they slept in last night to the mall or whatever. So, I mean, it doesn't take much to impress people. But you wanna, when it goes to things like Third Man Records, like the records that we put out, if it takes a certain colored vinyl or a certain photograph that's on the cover that's more flashy, or some kind of gimmick that the thing glows in the dark or whatever it is, I don't care, man. Anything like that is fine with me, because when I was 14 years old, that's the record I would have bought. Flipping through the record racks, I would have grabbed that one. And any trick that you can use to get people involved if they get all the way down to the storytelling is fine by me. It's great, you know, because I think all those people from Robert Johnson, you know, to the Rolling Stones were all using their trickery to get people interested.
Well, trickery to get people interested.
Yeah.
That seems a far cry from where you are at the moment. For example, Lazaretto, which you just come out.
Yeah.
The LP, the long play record, the vinyl record, is doing, I would say, sensationally well, considering that it's on a record. What makes this recording so special? Why are people relating to an old-fashioned vinyl record LP?
I think when you listen to, like if you're someone who watches movies on an iPhone or an iPad, you know you're watching the film and you're getting something from it, but you know that if you drive past a movie theater that day, you also know, well, that's where you really watch movies, in that theater. That's the real thing. This is like a small snack-sized portion of that. And I think when you listen to music on an iPod, and I do in my car and all that, like when it's portable, it's like, this is the song, but this isn't really the record. I mean, the record is the vinyl record. What's great about it is I think that people have things have gotten so invisible with music on a listening level that the demand for it over the last decade has just risen and risen and risen, and DJs kept it alive in the in the late 80s and 90s, they kept vinyl alive, and then the garage rockers in the early 2000s kept it alive again. And now it's bigger than ever. It's the only part of the music industry that's rising in sales, which is astounding.
Well, I find it surprising, to say the very least.
Yeah.
Well, question, does technology make art better?
It does, but you have to know the limit of the technology. There's a time when it's just time to stop. You know, I think amplifiers, you know, like this Sears Silvertone amplifier, this was considered a cheap amplifier in its time. You know, you'd get this one at Sears, and if you had money, you'd get a Fender amp or get, you know, something bigger like that. But this is an amazing amplifier. It's tube-based, and it's just a pinnacle of when they hit the 50s and 60s and they hit tube amplifiers, hit their crescendo, and that was it. It just got as good as it got, and that was it. A lot of times that happens instantly. In the first year something's created. I mean, the electric light bulb, what did that last, 100? It's still here. It's 100 years. I mean, the new light bulbs still don't even look as good as those. Fluorescents, I mean, come on. I mean, can't compare to an incandescent light bulb. So I think a lot of people think I don't like technology, but I really do like technology a lot. You know, I drive an electric car. I drive a Tesla, and you know, I listen to songs on a computer, and when I'm listening to things, but I know what the real side of it is. If I'm listening on an iPad, I know the vinyl is the real thing. If I have to record something on a demo on a computer somewhere on tour, I know what I really want to do is record on tape in my studio and to analog tape.